Welcome to the world of animal allies, the doctors, volunteers, pet owners and other surprising visitors who are out there making a difference. In South Africa, animal doctors check a baby cheetah's crowded teeth, while in Brazil, animal helpers bring the endangered golden lion tamarin back from the brink. Sick of your dog being the boss of you? How To looks at dog obedience. And in Animal World, humpback whales make a big splash off the west coast of Australia.
Spotting a cheetah in the wild is a rarity, but at the Cheetah Outreach Centre near Cape Town in South Africa, big cats are a familiar sight. Life is a breeze here for Zaza and her feline friends. She has little need to use her fast, long legs to hunt. This is just for fun.
Really nice working life, that they get pampered all day by guests that come in, meet them. It's very important to get the message out to raise awareness and apply to the wild cheetah, and she's helping very much towards that. And her job is to basically lie down and sleep all day, get fed and relax and get a nice massage by people coming and stroking her.
Zaza is one of the Cheetah Outreach's star performers. She was born in captivity and spends her life helping raise awareness of her species' race against extinction.
The cheetah is endangered. We are looking at about 15 years till extinction. Worldwide, we have about 10 to 12,000 cheetah left, and people don't realize that.
People are just amazed, and they don't forget that experience, and that's the whole idea, that they go home thinking about it, and hopefully they'll become more aware of conservation and the environment, and that's a big part of our goal.
One of the threats facing the cheetah is its small gene pool. That means they are all very similar genetically, making them vulnerable to disease and inherited health problems. Among those problems is a risk of dental deformities, including crowded teeth. For Zaza, that means a visit to the dentist. When a cheetah needs its teeth checked, the local dentist just won't do, or even a local vet. This is a job for the specialist staff at the Cape Animal Medical Centre in Cape Town. While there, Zaza will also be given a full medical checkover and an internal examination.
You're going to bring her out in the crate, dart her in the crate, get her to sleep, and then move through into the hospital, and everything else will happen in the back.
To sedate her, the travelling kennel is tipped over so that Zaza lies against the bars, providing an easy, safe target for the injection.
No flinch.
Just as in human medicine, there are specialist vets for every area of animal illness. Dr. Maran van Zyl is an expert in internal medicine. He will supervise Zaza's dental and medical checkover. He begins by taking some blood samples.
So that we can check all organ function, which is a routine annual check, making sure that everything's working fine so we can pick up on any problems very early. We also check viral profiles, whether they've been exposed to any of the dangerous viruses, and general blood and health counts.
The samples are immediately taken to the on-site laboratory for testing, while Zaza is given an anaesthetic.
She's still quite awake. She's blinking and registering a bit of what's happening. So the second dose, she'll sleep. Go under general anaesthetic.
It isn't long before Zaza is sleeping soundly, with all her vital functions being carefully monitored. Safely asleep and breathing nicely, it's time for Zaza's teeth to be examined. Some of her baby teeth were late in coming loose, leaving little room for her permanent teeth to grow correctly. Dr. Gerrit Steenkamp operated to remove the delayed baby teeth some time ago. Now he needs to check his handiwork to see that Zaza's adult teeth have grown straight.
If we compare the two sides, we can see that on the right-hand side, eruption carried on as per normal. This carnassial tooth, the fourth premolar, is sitting in the normal place it should be. However, on the left-hand side, we can see that it is rotated and it has now been trapped by this molar at the bottom. So every time the cheetah closes its mouth, it's biting onto that, which is not a normal situation. Now the question is, to do anything about it, we need to find out if it's actually causing pain or discomfort to the patient before we decide to do it.
In Animal Doctors Part 2, we'll find out if Zaza needs another operation, and Dr. Van Zyl takes a look inside her stomach.
The babies are really beautiful, and their eyes, and sometimes you can see that they are screaming for help.
Animal helper Denise Rambaldi is passionate about these remarkable creatures, the critically endangered golden lion tamarins of southern Brazil, where she lives. They only grow to around 30 centimeters tall and weigh less than a video cassette. These gentle creatures are incredibly sensitive and fragile. The problem is their home, the Atlantic rainforest, is disappearing at an alarming rate. Less than 2% remains.
The Atlantic forest is one of the most rich areas of the world in biodiversity. It's a hotspot on every national conservation or international conservation organization's map. That forest is a hotspot.
Dr. Deborah Kleiman from the US National Zoo in Washington is part of a concerted international effort to bring the golden lion tamarin back from the brink. When Dr. Kleiman began the zoo's captive breeding program in 1972, there were just 72 golden lion tamarins in captivity and less than 200 in the wild. Today there are some 500 in zoos around the world waiting to be sent back to freedom in Brazil. And with support from institutes like the renowned Smithsonian in Washington, the tamarins will be wearing radio tracking collars, providing vital information about how they will assimilate back into the forest. Back in Brazil, Denise Rambaldi says this is essential if the species is to survive.
Well, so far we have around 800 tamarins in this region, but they are not a unique population. They are divided in 3 small subpopulations.
This is a problem for the tamarins because these 3 groups live in isolation, separated by pasture, fences, even highways. They can't come together to mate. The animal helpers are working to rebuild part of the tamarins' precious Atlantic rainforest home. They've convinced some landowners to allow the tamarins to reclaim their natural habitat, but it's not enough.
We have to find ways to fit the conservation and the sustainable development, the agriculture and grassland. We have to fit this in the same box and work together with the local community, developing alternatives to raise money to their survival. And we think ecotourism also could be a nice alternative because the region is quite beautiful and the people like to see the tamarins and the people want to pay to see the tamarins.
Despite the obvious profit potential and with the fate of an entire species in the balance, Denise Rambaldi says her own government is still dragging its feet.
The Brazilian government could reserve more money and more technical support, and they could hire people, hire technicians to work, because in the last 10 years they don't hire people. And the people are being retired, and sometimes we're gonna have empty reserves and no director, no guards, and if nothing has been done.
For animal helpers like Dr. Kleiman and Denise Rambaldi, it's a responsibility that weighs heavily on them. They're painfully aware that the clock is ticking.
We have all given ourselves until 2025 to get a population in the wild that would approach a couple of thousand animals and 20,000 hectares of land. This is not an impossible task, because if we can get the private landowners to agree to let us put in corridors of tropical forest trees, and in some cases they may be trees that can be of economic benefit to the rancher or farmer. If they can do that, then we can connect all these fragmented little bits of forest that currently exist.
There may still be a long way to go before the tamarins and their home are safe, but no one is about to give up hope. After the break, Animal Allies returns to find out if Zaza's teeth need straightening and some big show-offs hit the humpback highway.
Nose are down.
Without proper training, dogs can easily develop bad manners. You set the rules in your house, not your dog. Animal Allies Guide to Dog Obedience. Meet Tim Scrine, an animal ally who knows all about dog training.
When commanding a dog, you're best off using the dog's name first. Za come, za sit. Every time the dog hears its name, it will be ready for a command to follow. So limit using the dog's name to prior to a command and not just generally praising. Za, break.
Many dogs respond better to body language than verbal commands.
When I'm calling the dog into me, I bring my hand back to my right shoulder, right hand back to the right shoulder. To get the dog to sit, I put my hand up in the air. To get the dog to drop, to lay flat at the ground, the hand would go down to the ground. To get the dog to stay, I move the hand back towards the dog, and again, to bring him closer to me, hand coming back to the shoulder.
Every time a particular command is given, always use the same word and speak assertively.
Good boy. Za come, good boy, good boy, good boy, good boy. Za drop. Good boy, well done. When commanding the dog, it's very important that you use the right tones. For example, then when I recalled Za, I used his name and the word come in a strong authoritative voice. Rather than asking him, I demanded it of him. As soon as I'd given the command to keep him enthusiastic to come straight into me, I used some follow-up praise. Good boy, well done, clever puppy, whatever you like, but don't reissue the command or use his name again.
The tone of your voice will tell your dog whether it is being praised or disciplined.
Good boy, hey? There's a good boy. Some simple rules to stick to are, whenever commanding your dog, use a deep, authoritative voice. Whenever praising your dog, use a high pitch in your voice. And this will ensure that you are the boss of your dog and that your dog isn't the boss of you.
So for this week's Animal Allies How-To, say your dog's name prior to a command. Use hand signals. Speak in a high tone for praise and a low tone for disciplining.
It's hard to miss the humpback whale. These playful creatures are well known for the acrobatic antics which make them the biggest show-offs of the sea. Despite their profile as star performers, the reasons for these displays, as with much about whales, is largely unknown, making them a favourite for scientific study. Researchers Kurt and Mitch Jenner are studying the Indian Ocean's humpbacks at a calving ground off the northwest coast of Australia. This secret location, discovered by the Jenners, is the final stop on what's called the Humpback Highway, an ancient pathway that starts at their feeding grounds in the Antarctic and ends in this warmer water nursery. With volunteers from the Earthwatch Institute, the Jenners are trying to learn all they can about these mysterious creatures.
Nowhere else in the world is there a calving ground that's not closely associated with some tourist activity. Anywhere else in the world that you have humpback whales that are readily accessible to study, they're also readily accessible to the tourist industry. So you can't really say that they're not impacted or biased by humans. Up here, there's literally nothing out here.
Humpback whales have the longest migratory path of any mammal on Earth. Every year they make the journey from the icy waters of the polar caps to warmer, more protected areas to give birth, prepare their calves for the return journey, and to mate. Southern humpbacks spend around 4 months in Antarctic waters, feeding on small fish and plankton to build up their fat reserves for the journey north. Once on the highway, they may not feed for as much as 8 months of the year. Whales are famous for their songs, and the humpback is the noisiest and most imaginative of all whale singers. While both male and female humpbacks produce sounds, it's only the male with his distinctive themes and melodies that earns the title of singer. He saves his longest and most complex songs for warmer waters because, scientists believe, these songs are love songs. Contrary to the gentle nature of his music and to the mammals themselves, courting in these waters can be an energetic affair. But these calving grounds are also a nursery where newborn calves can learn the lessons needed for survival or just have some fun. Mitch and Kurt are not the first to catch a ride on the Humpback Highway.
Okay, let her go.
Since the 19th century, whalers have known of the annual migration and brutally hunted these gentle, majestic creatures to near extinction. By the time whaling was banned in the mid-1960s, 97% of the southern humpback population had been decimated. But since then, their numbers have been slowly increasing.
What we need to do at this stage of the game, before the whales become threatened or pushed out of their sensitive habitats, is set up a couple of sanctuaries, probably up in the Kimberley region where they bear their calves, and here in the Exmouth Gulf area where they stop and rest, again with their calves on the way south, would be two good starting points.
Back at the Cape Animal Medical Centre, Zaza the cheetah is being prepared for an internal examination by Dr. Malan van Zyl. These endangered big cats are susceptible to a number of diseases, as their immune system seems unable to defend itself well against infections.
The next part of our annual checkup is to do endoscopy, put a scope down and go and see what the stomach looks like, because they are quite prone to stomach problems, gastritis, which is a common problem in them.
Dr. van Zyl uses an endoscope camera to investigate Zaza's stomach and small intestine. There are no ulcers or other irritations, but he takes some tissue samples anyway, so they can be examined for less obvious problems.
She's in very good condition. She's still young. We don't really expect any problems, but we'd like to try and get onto it as early as possible if there are any problems. And it's a good way of keeping track of what's happening as far as the general health status in the population is concerned, in the captive population. And it's a very good way of keeping track of each individual cheetah, and so that you can pick up the moment that there is a problem with any individual, we can actually pick up and compare year-on-year results as well.
With a clean bill of internal health from the lab, it's time for Zaza's dental report. Will she need another operation to straighten her teeth?
At this stage it doesn't appear like that. There is no lesions, there's no ulcerations, there's no areas of inflammation. So although those teeth then did not erupt in the usual way, it is not causing discomfort, and therefore we're not going to do any treatment for it at the moment.
Perfect.
So Zaza has passed all her examinations and tests with flying colours. Dr. Van Zyl will now take her off the gas anaesthetic and allow her to wake up.
This last phase of waking up will now take anything from about 2 to 4 hours.
When Zaza is fully awake, she will return to the Cheetah Outreach Centre, none the worse for her experience. Soon she'll be back to her normal self and resuming her role as an ambassador for cheetah conservation. In the next programme, the world of animal allies continues when animal doctor Celia Newlove races against time to try and save a sick cow. And Animal World travels to killer crocodile country.
There are ways to make it